Because of some comments that were made in the previous video, we have taken a mighty large bribe to say some very positive things about certain teams in this one.
The use of cash was from the safe was used predominantly for illegal activities.
In short, bribes, as you've described it.
Correct.
Ladies, gentlemen, and my NB comrades, welcome back. It's your boy Snare, and we're going to be getting back into the predictions. I also regret to inform you that because of some comments made in the last video, this might be the last time that you actually see me before I have to go into hiding to avoid all the fanboys.
Guys, I think I hear something.
Just a refresher about how all this is going to work, right? As you can see, some of the teams from the wild card have already been seeded on our tier list. We're going to be seeding stage by stage of the competition. We already did the wild cards. We're going to be doing group stages today, putting them on the tier list and also seeing where I think they're actually going to finish coming out of the group stage portion of the tournament. Final reminder that this is not where I think the teams rank overall in the world, just where I think they rank relative to each other, in particular at the major. Not just overall, but at the major. So let's get into it. Let's see what we got here. TNC. Let's say TNC. Let's start with them. In the previous list that I'd made for a lot of y'all that you might have seen, bonus content, I had thought that TNC was going to do quite a lot better than what we saw from them in the actual competition. One of the expectations I had for them actually doing better is they have this history over the years of performing somewhat mediocre and then making a switch up to bring the team all Pinoy once again. And whenever they do that, they almost immediately hit the ground running and achieve some pretty astounding results. Unfortunately, didn't really see that happen in the previous season. As a result of that, we are going to be having TNC in C tier. I thought they were going to do a lot better. Let's say mid C tier. Yeah, I've seen nothing from them in the last while. Despite Gabby and Armel having some, being back on the come up, they had a bit of a slump in the first season and look a lot better in the second. Despite that, it just really does feel like TNC, for the most part, has hit their limit. I don't see this team developing anything necessarily new strategy-wise, right? That's going to be like, oh god, this is a new way to approach the game. I also do think that I was admittedly expecting more from the replacements. I think in particular Bok, especially, I wanted a lot more out of Bok. Not to say that Bok is bad, it's not what I'm saying, just that I don't think that Bok is the player that's going to take TNC to that next level, which is what they initially wanted out of a replacement for KP. They seem solid, right? Very, very solid. But this is a major. Solid simply isn't good enough. So that's the best I can imagine them placing. In terms of where they go on the score sheet, let's see. So actually, wait, since I've already placed Nigma and Vici on the tier list, we can actually sort them first here. Let's see. Nigma, I think Nigma gets out of the group stages though. So I'll put them sixth. I'll put Nigma sixth. And so I think this team should belong in this situation. And with Nigma being sixth, Vici Gaming, yeah, we'll put them fifth. I think Vici will very comfortably come out of the group. I'm tempted to put them a bit higher. Nah, I'll leave it here. So I think they will come 5th and 6th respectively. Unfortunately, I think TNC is one of the first teams that will be eliminated from the group stages. I personally just don't see it. I just don't see it. I think that as they get into the tournament itself, they will discover some new form, which will be initially interesting, but I just don't. Yeah, I don't feel it. I don't see a situation where this team actually comes out aces, does really, really well, and can continue to get up the bracket. And also, given what their points look like at this point in time, another thing to take into account, right, that we haven't really spoken about that much. We briefly touched upon it in the previous video, but what is needed from all of these teams if they want to find themselves qualifying for TI? To sort of underscore how difficult of an ask it actually going to be to qualify for TI on points, for TNC to qualify on points for TI, right? For them to do that, they need at least top 6 just to push Neon off of last place and to take their place at the very bottom That's bare minimum of what's required from TNC to get yourself into a safe position where you can guaranteed lock in secure TI. Literally impossible. You'd need at least like what? I think it's 530 points in order to be able to do that. Only 500 are available from the tournament. So both Nigma and TNC will only feel comfortable with top 6 minimum, but probably victory is the only thing that makes them feel we can breathe. And to make matters worse, you also have this Vici gaming team that is right now sitting just on the outskirts, being able to get into the top 12 for qualification. So for them, what they need, they'll feel to guarantee a qualification. If they get top 6, they're fine. They're okay with it. Then it's like, cool, done and dusted. But they will at least need top 8 to put themselves on the same amount of points as a lot of other teams already are in this tournament. They just need to get themselves top 8 to get themselves in the minimum portion of the conversation. Erstwhile, a lot more is needed from Nigma and TNC. We now move over onto the Americans of Evil Geniuses. This is going to be the first NA squad, and I do think North America and South America are surprisingly strong regions coming into this one. I definitely think this is an A-tier team. I'm going to reserve S-tier for my eventual tournament winner, so that particular slot will stay unfilled for quite some time. But EG, I think that they are, in my opinion, the most stable T1 team. Provided it's the 5 players that have been playing, I don't see a universe where they don't come top 4, basically. They've already qualified for TI. They don't need it. But EG, I remember I was speaking about Secret in the previous video about what happens when this team is playing in a situation where they don't need those Ws. EG is somewhat of the opposite. This team just keeps playing. Like, the only time they let off the gas is when they're playing in North America. Once they get to lands, name a more iconic duo than placing top 3 at a major/TI and Evil Geniuses. Team is absurdly skilled on every single position. I really like the team's balance, and their cohesion seems quite good right now. I do expect a lot out of them in this particular major as well. I think this team will be very, very threatening. I also think that right now, this is also the team that's had the least, how do I phrase it? There's 2 particular teams, actually 3, sorry, in this tournament, who I think have had to do the least adapting of their own individual playstyle to fully adapt to the contemporary meta. The first of those teams is EG. We'll talk about the other teams later, but the important thing for EG is the different kind of ways they can unleash Arved and Ice. Ice in particular. The off lane is really where it's at right now in terms of what drives your team to victory, I think. So given that Ice is one of the best offlaners at being able to guide your team to victory regardless, I think this team is going to do really, really well. Fly has always been playing the Warlocks, the Ancient Apparitions at a high level. It's going to be A-tier. It's going to be amazing. EG will come second in the group, I think. And they're going to do fairly well. I'm expecting a lot from that team. The next team we're going to be talking about today from the group stages is going to be our boys from Team Spirit. Feels bad. This is going to be the other team that goes out early in the major. Very, very capable of hanging with the big boys, taking games or even full series off of some of the competition that we see arrayed against them. Unfortunately, I think Team Spirit is also fairly inconsistent as a team. And when you're playing at this level, inconsistency is not allowed. You have to be as consistent as humanly possible. To make matters worse, I think the fact that Team Spirit is coming into this one with, how do I phrase it? I think they have the most adaptation on the meta to do. I'd say maybe them and potentially IG have a lot of adaptation. The style of play in the current meta doesn't fully fit them, I don't think. So I definitely have to put them in bottom C. I mean, now it used to be the case that it was like, it didn't really matter as much what the rest of the team drafted, provided they could provide Toronto Tokyo a good game. Now I'm really concerned about Team Spirit drafts. If I see a bad draft from them, it's like, oh, you've lost the game. There's no option, even when Toronto Tokyo has a really good hero. The meta is not in a place right now where you can just have one person win the game like that. Team cohesion is very important, and yeah, I think Team Spirit has the least versatility in the drafts that'll give them the necessary team cohesion to win out the games. So bottom of C tier and ending 8th in the group. I mean, they could go either way with TNC, but yeah, bottom of the pack finish, unfortunately. So now we move on. Now let's have a small conversation a small conversation about our boys from BeastCoast. Woof! BeastCoast, baby. BeastCoast, baby. BeastCoast, baby. BeastCoast, baby. I'm not sure about how deep they go into the tournament, but very high B tier. BeastCoast, they're going to do really, really well from coming out of the group stages. They're going to come out first in the group, I think. I think the style of play that BeastCoast has lends itself quite well to BO2 scenarios. I think in the group stages, one of the important things when you're playing in this particular portion of the bracket is that it matters quite a lot what you can do across these two legs. BO2s, remember, it's not a straight up BO3. So basically the teams that are never backing down, that always have low cooldowns, and that are prepared to brawl as often as humanly possible. BeastCoast sort of exemplifies that style of play for me. So definitely going to put them at the top of the group. I do think as the tournament starts to evolve and we get into more BO3s, that's when BeastCoast are going to start running into a few more difficulties and things become... That's why they're not an A tier. We'll see how far they can go. High B tier for me. We spoke obviously about what the other teams need in order to be able to qualify for TI. For BeastCoast, the requirement isn't really that real. Just 5th, 6th will be good enough to guarantee your way into TI. EG, of course, have already qualified thanks to their results from Major 1 and the 2 seasons. BeastCoast also has something to prove. They have something to prove. I really do think there's something to the nature of teams playing when there's a chip on their shoulder. There's something that they're trying to show the world in the situation. And because they missed out on Major 1 and they need these points, they're going to try and show to us that, well, y'all were getting stomped by Thunder Predator, but Thunder Predator came 3rd in our region. Let's show you why. Okay, so 2 teams remaining now. We will go to PSG.LGD, which will... Hi B, let's do this actually to make it a bit more clear so that it's very difficult for anybody to be like, ha, we know who goes where. We'll just put them in order so long. Definitely C tier for me. High B tier from PSG.LGD as well. Better than Vici Gaming right now. Not necessarily as good as BeastCoast, but this team has been really, really looking like they're on the up. For me, the key for this comes from 2 sources on that team. Firstly, Shinkyu. That's simple. Shinkyu, the best 4 position in the planet right now. Yo, Mans is incredible. And his interplay with Innocence in the support duo. In fairness, the support duo of Vici Gaming, I think, is overall stronger together in terms of how they interplay. But Shinkyu, not to say that Innocence is bad by any stretch of the imagination, but often there are games where it's like, yo, Shinkyu is the one that's actually carrying this game. How many times over the course of this last season would you be like, oh my god, Shinkyu Clockwork, oh my god, Shinkyu Lina, oh my god, Shinkyu Snapfire. Shinkyu is just something else, something else. That guy is in a league of his own. Not just him though, I mentioned 2 things. The other thing is that Ame has been feeding less. It's actually incredible how this team from LGD, they used to be the old eHome squad and they were grabbed as 4 players minus their carry and they just added Ame. And you can see that the team cohesion that was built up from their time in eHome has definitely carried over into this roster because they look, with the exception of Ame, I'm leaving Ame out for a reason. The other 4 look like they've been playing Dota since they were born together, just reading each other's minds, moving on the map without any hint of miscommunication. For a long time, one of the only problems would emerge for the team when Ame would make a mistake or just do a regular Ame thing, you know. As time has been going on, we've been seeing less of that Ame and more of the peak 2017, very rarely make any mistakes Ame from back in the day. 2017, 2018, that era of Ame where he looked incredible on LGD. And seeing him get back to that particular level, I think is what helps push LGD over the edge, because before this, the team was still so good. But now I think they've taken that extra step into being really, really good. They got top 3 in the previous major. And if not for the fact that I want to limit A to S this particular go around, I would probably put them on the low end of A. It just so happens that there are other teams that I would rather put in that category, an S, but definitely very high B, almost in tandem with the same skill as BeastCoast. Unfortunately for them, I do think that the way that they draft, especially right now, that they're gonna fall prey to some games against like your BeastCoast and your EGs. So I don't see them coming out of the group in hell. They're gonna come out 3rd, you know, still get themselves into the playoffs, but once they get to the playoffs, once you get to BO3s, once they have time to think about it. We're going to start seeing Zhao once again pull out their mental traps to draw teams in and beat them just on the draft before they even start playing the game. So I do think PSG.LGD, high B tier, very, very good from them. Also, speaking about what's needed to qualify, PSG.LGD find themselves in a very similar position to BeastCoast. They both have 800 points. So actual qualification here from the major just requires top 6. In fact, provided that other outcomes don't happen, such as Team Liquid, Spirit, TNC, or Nigma placing extremely high in the tournament, I have a feeling that 800 is like we're mentioning earlier, the safe floor. This will guarantee you tiebreakers. If they perform anything like they did in the first major, there will be 100% fine here going into this one. I do think, though, that some teams underperformed. I think PSG.LGD, in my opinion, overperformed a little bit at the previous major. I still think they're going to be very deserving of 5th, 6th is where I think they'll end eventually, but we'll get to that when we start talking about the playoffs. Of course, now, the last team that's obviously now going to occupy that 4th position is going to be Team Liquid. Team Liquid, Team Liquid. I think Team Liquid ends up 4th in the group. And actually, no. I'm going to rechange this a bit. I'm going to put Vici Gaming actually in the 4th. And then we'll put Liquid down to 5th place. Liquid definitely deserves to also go into B tier. They are towards the bottom end of B tier, to be fair. But I do think that what we saw from them in the first season, the evolution of the team since having Sumail introduced, I mean, sure, there might be questions about the same level of balance that they had before. You can't do things like, hey, Boxy, you're going to play position 4 in this game. Normally it'll be when Tiger plays Enigma, but you know what I mean. That they had that kind of major flexibility with the previous roster. When you get Sumail is not the kind of player who has demonstrated that he's God outside of the mid lane. He's still very, very good. Don't get me wrong. When they put him in the safe lane, they've tried that with a couple of different teams. But where he's God is from the mid lane. And you get this guard in, does somewhat limit your flexibility options because Quakefer, the more limited range of what he can play from the off lane, which of course limits where he can swap over between himself and Tiger if the game would call for it. I do think that Team Liquid, though, has been improved by it, that this team has potential to go very deep into the tournament. Remember as well that for them to qualify, it's also not easy. It's also not easy. Just to get to the points. Remember, we've been talking about 400 points is just tiebreakers. Just to get themselves to the 800 point mark, to be involved in tiebreakers versus BeastCoast, Thunder Predator, Team Master, etc., would require them to place 3rd. The only routes to qualification directly that will 100% skip over any potential tiebreakers requires them to end the tournament 1st. Tough ask. It's not impossible. It's not impossible. I don't see it happening. But I think they're going to entertain us and enthrall us throughout the way with everything that they do. Another positive thing I think about Team Liquid is in the current meta, I think you are much more incentivized to have your primary core player playing out from the mid lane. We've been speaking in this last video about how there's going to be a lot more strength heroes that go into the safe lane. Team Liquid, Mickey can definitely play that style, but the more important thing is that Sumail can pick up the game-winning slack in a way that Quakefer previously wasn't really able to. No knock on Quakefer's skill, but Sumail definitely has that killer edge to help you win out games that you weren't necessarily able to before. So now that he can be the focal point of the draft, it can make things a lot easier for him to enable the team overall to do well. So it'll be some fun games from them at the very least. Mid B tier, I don't feel comfortable placing them anything above that, but yeah, I think this is a very good place to put them and also a good place to stop for the day. That's how I think it's going to shake out for Liquid. And that's overall how I think it's going to shake out for the group stages. So that is going to be that. We're done for now. Groups are covered, wildcard stages are covered. Only the playoffs remain, where I guarantee there are some surprises that you have not seen coming in terms of where I place the various teams. In the meantime, though, let me know what you think. Let me know if this is how you would have placed the teams yourselves on the tier list. Let me know if you think my group stage placements make sense given the teams that are involved in the tournament. And also let me know if you're going to be sending out a death squad against me for the crime of impugning and denigrating your favorite Dota 2 team. Either way, the comments are open. Discuss it down below. And of course, if you've enjoyed your time here, you can consider becoming a supporter, either by joining up on Patreon, patreon.com/curvethought, or by making a one-time donation through PayPal. The links for both are in the description down below. And with that, we're going to close it out until the playoffs video. So I'll see you then. In the meantime, make sure that you are mashing that subscribe button, like the video to help us out in the YouTube algorithm, and I will see you next time with some more hype, some more love, and some more Dota 2 action.